Hello, everyone. Dan here from the Next Issue Podcast. On today's video, I'll be doing a review for Resurrection of Magneto number 3. This book almost coming to a close. So let's take a look at the creative team before we get into this. This book is written by Al Ewing with art by Luciano Becchio and David Curiel and Jesus Alberto in colors, letters by Joe Sabino, and we have some really cool covers that we'll see at the end of the video as well. This is it. We are closing in on the last issue of this series. This is a mini series. Everything's coming to an end in Krakoa. Will we get Magneto back? In this issue, though, falls the shadow. In the cold, dark rooms beyond death, there are terrible things, annihilators, adversaries, and a king of shadows who seek a new soul to live in. The time for easy miracles is over for Storm and Magneto. All roads lead all roads that lead back to life are hard, and this is the hardest road of them all. So, if you remember from last issue, Storm has gone into this other world to get Magneto back. And we've been reminiscing and kind of going over all of Magneto's sins. And he's been really trying to reconcile his life and everything that's going on. In the meanwhile, Storm is the one that's trying to guide him back. But they have run into an ambush of all these entities, including what I feel like I correctly assumed that it was the Shadow King on the last issue. I feel like this issue is pretty clear about that. Um, the thing that really brought this issue over the top, obviously, the stuff that happens is very important, and it leaves in a really cool place at the end. But Vecchio's art just reached a new frontier for me in this one. Like there are some really cool character designs. The way that the pages are laid out feels pretty incredible. So let's take a look at some of that preview art. And as I mentioned, we get to visit a lot of entities that we've seen before, things that are taking the shape of stuff that playing with mind tricks. This is all that it is. Playing mind tricks with Storm, playing mind tricks with Magneto, trying to weaken them. But of course, we know that their resolve is strong, especially when they work together. We'll have a really cool page to see about that in a second. Um, in the meanwhile, while Storm is trying to deal with all those other entities, Magneto's trying to reconcile his own. I love that they kind of turned this into a chess match where Magneto's obviously trying to help Storm. And then this entity, the Shadow King, I'm pretty sure is the Shadow King. I love that the lettering, like it really tells you all you need to know, right? Whether no matter what shape of Xavier this takes. And then the page that really put it over the top for me. This is insane. This is incredible. This is what happens when Magneto and Storm work together. And boy, it is just beautiful to look at. One of my favorite splash pages of the year so far. It's just incredible. Their power combined. Yeah, it's. I don't know that I've ever read a writer that loves the character of Storm more than Al Ewing. Like if you check it out, if you check out all of Al Ewing's books in this Krakoan age, they have all been putting over Storm so hard. It is incredible. It is incredible. So hello, everyone. Dan here from the Next Issue Podcast. On today's video, I'll be doing a preview for Jackpot and Black Cat #1. This is a new book from Marvel Comics. But let's take a look at the creative team before we dive into this book. This book is written by Celeste Bronfman, who also wrote the Jackpot one-shot we got a little while ago, with art by Emilio Liso, Brian Reaver in colors, letters by Irena Meher. And in this issue, first of all, I'm really glad to see this team back together. I was quite fond of the Black Cat Mary Jane series that Jed McKay wrote a little while back. Multiple times, I think Mary Jane Watson and Felicia Hardy have really been teaming up very much recently. Like, so this is going to be really interesting. But in this issue, luck be the ladies. The most exciting new hero in the Marvel Universe, Jackpot, aka Mary Jane Watson, gets her first action pack limited series as a superhero alongside her other best female character in comics. Oh, along the other best female character in comics, Black Cat. When someone blackmails the Black Cat into a public and blatant crime spree, Jackpot comes to her aid. What classic spider villain is behind the blackmail? Someone in history with at least one of our titular heroines. Well, that makes sense. I wonder who it is. Just judging from the preview pages that I wasn't able to gauge that was the mystery. But now that I've read the synopsis, I'm actually pretty interested. I was already interested in the series because, like I said, I like the pairing. But let's go take a look at some of the preview art so you can see what I'm talking about. And I think Lysa does a really good job at recapturing the designs. I think they both have very specific looks. Uh, Especially, Mary Jane Watts. The Jackpot's look is a little bit newer to the comics, but I mean, Felicia Harding has a very iconic look as the Black Cat. So we're gonna get to see. It looks like some maybe sea level characters in the Spider-Man universe, which is gonna be fun. We're also gonna get some action-packed sequences, and I think with Jackpot's powers, you never know how things are gonna go. So that should be pretty interesting as well. So I'm looking forward to this book. Like I said, I like the stuff that I read in the past that had to do with both of these characters. Now that was a different creative team. I did enjoy the previous one shot for Jackpot, so I'm looking forward to seeing what else this creative team can do. Very excited for that. Of course, really cool variant covers you can see at the end of the video. Stay tuned for those. So hello, everyone. Dan here from the Next Issue Podcast. On today's video, I'll be doing a preview for X-Men 97 number one. This is a new comic book from Marvel Comics. As you can see, of course, this is a tie-in to the latest release of X-Men 97, the animated show. Let's talk about the creative team before we get into this book. This book is written by Steve Fox with art by Salvador Espin, colors by Matt Miller, letters by Joe Sabino. This is the official prelude to the highly anticipated Disney Plus show. The X-Men are back, and the 90s have never looked better. In this official prelude to the upcoming show, created in collaboration with the showrunners, discover what Storm, Jubilee, Wolverine, and the rest of the beloved 90s X-Men cast have been up to since the time before their return. Startling revelations here lead directly into this highly anticipated series. Do not miss out. uh, I think this would have been a better release last week when we got the last two episodes. But, comics, sometimes they don't come out exactly when they wanted to. But I'm glad that Marvel is doing something um, to tie it into the series. As you probably have seen, if you've seen my reviews on the channel, I quite enjoy the series. I'm a big fan of the original cartoon, I'm a big fan of these characters. So, very excited to see where this is going. So let's take a look at some of the preview art to see if they can capture the magic of these 90s animated show. And right off the bat, we catch up. Now, none of these preview pages have dialogue, but right off the bat, we catch up on what looks to be the danger room. Right, we know that Magneto. Um, it's probably not here at the moment from the first opening pages, and this is something the cartoon used to do a lot. They would drop us into a danger room mission, not letting the audience know that it was a danger room mission. But then once again, we see, and interestingly enough, Storm still has long hair here, right? She doesn't have the mohawk yet, but it looks like this issue might give us the origin of the mohawk and the new look for Storm, and the new look for really a lot of the characters. They got really subtle upgrades in design, so really interested to see where Storm is going, that she needs a new look, and what's going on here with the X-Men. So I, as I mentioned, I quite enjoyed the new series. So anything tied into that right now, I'm just gonna consume it because I think it's gonna be a lot of fun. So very much looking forward to reading this. I'll probably talk more about this on our next live or next time. Maybe I'll do a separate video. But if you have read this, let me know what you thought about it. Also, as I mentioned, we have reviews for episode 1 and 2 of the X-Men 97 series, and we'll do them weekly as they. Hello, everyone. Dan here from the Next Issue Podcast. On today's video, I'll be doing a preview for Gods number 6. This is a new book from Marvel Comics. Let's take a look at the creative team. This book is written by Jonathan Hickman with art by Valerio Schiti, colors by Marte Gracia, and letters by Travis Lanham. I cannot believe we are already 6 issues deep into Gods. Um, I haven't been reading the issues, but I have been doing the previews for every issue. I think, like a lot of Jonathan Hickman's work, I want to read it all together because there's a lot of threads and building. So if you happen reading this monthly, let me know if you think any differently. But in this issue, Aiko has done a bad thing, and the only way she can get it right is to tell the truth and stop lying. But who doesn't love lying? Certainly not the Lion of Wolves. Um, I mean, like I said, I don't know exactly what's going on with this book. I'll be completely honest. Uh, but every time I look at the preview pages, I'm just like, I really need to get back to this book, and this is no different. Let me pull up some of the preview pages. As you can see here, Valeria Shitty just doing such a bang up job of setting the tone, setting the mood. Obviously, Gracia's colors really bring that to the forefront as well. Um, but the character designs are so cool, and just the interactions with the characters as well. In between the characters, I think Jonathan Hickman is really good at writing, some interesting dialogue that leads these conversations along, because there's definitely a lot happening in his books. So it takes really a great effort to make sure that we can follow everything through. And then, even just small things like the little panel of, I believe this is the Lion of Wolves sitting on this chair, zooming in on him, the dropping of the glass, and of course we have a surprise uh, for for Aiko. So like, just everything really happening all at once, very quickly paced. These issues are actually very dense. I did read the first couple of issues, and I could tell this book was going to be very dense, which is one of the reasons I'm waiting for a first arc to be collected to really get into it. So hello everyone, Daniel here from the Next Issue Podcast. On today's video, I'll be doing a review for Rise of the Powers of 10, number 3. This is one of the books leading all the way to the end of the Krakoan Age, on the fall of the House of X. Really good stuff. So let's take a look at the creative team before we get into this one. This book is written by Kieran Gillen with art by R.B. Silva, David Curiel on colors, letters by Clem Cowles, and a plethora of different covers at the end of the video. You'll see a few of those because they are Marvel's really going all out for this, to send off the mutants, and they're going to do that by printing out a bunch of variant covers that look really cool, and that now that the X-Men are super hot, nobody's going to want to pass up. So let's talk about this issue, though. In this issue, the real end is never beginning. The past, present, and future of Krakoa all rest on the trigger, in a trigger finger. The scenario you prayed would never happen plays out as two series that are one, move forward, and crash that reverberate outside the universe. So yeah, this one is going along with Fall of the House of X, uh, and everything is kind of starting to come together. Characters that we saw in that other series are starting to show up here. Now that can probably seem a little confusing, but I think from the get-go we knew that we are gonna have to read both of these, just like we had to read both the Hoxpox series, right? So that, I feel like that was kind of par for the course. It's a good way to bookend this universe, this age of Krakoa. Um, we see a young Moira, uh, which is really interesting because Karen Gillan writes Moira. Obviously, she knows, right? Every time she comes back to life, she knows everything that's happened in her previous lives. So to have a child worry every day of her life that she might die before her powers kick in is crazy. Like, it's insane. It's nuts. But Karen Gillan does it in a really fun way. And of course, this is all shown through RB Silva's beautiful art. Um, I like RB Silva's character designs a lot. I think we see some characters here. There's a lot of action in this issue as well. For a book that focuses a majority of its pages on a small child trying to stay alive, and then maybe a possible assassin coming to kill her. This is just really, really interesting, really fun, and that's what Karen Gillan does, and that's why I appreciate when he's doing superhero stuff. He's just so much fun. He brings all these little intricate layers. He understands the voices of these characters, or at least the way he writes them. I really like how they sound. So to me, it feels very genuine. It feels very much Like he's a longtime X-Men fan that wanted to leave his mark. And I think a lot of these authors and creators in the Krakoan Age are definitely putting their own specific stamp on the books. But let's take a look at some of Ari Silva's art. As I mentioned, we kick off with Moira, and we see this dialogue, right? All these little dialogue boxes are there, but something unexpected does come out. I love the beautiful foliage of the trees. It's a really interesting juxtaposition with all the little the little brush that Moira is walking through. Like that's very dark, but then in the background you see this beautiful foliage, and it's all kind of framing this assassin that has come for Moira. Which, if you look closely enough, obviously that is Charles Xavier, or at least a version of him is not confusing, but definitely very convoluted at how everybody's getting to where they are if you haven't been reading everything. And Moira having these visions, knowing what's going on, like present time Moira, right? Because Charles managed to, with some of the other mutants, move himself or move themselves out of, like, just all the mutants move them out of time and space, so that they can be located. The whole thing about um, becoming Dominion and all that stuff. If you didn't pay attention in the original books, you might have a little bit of a time struggling here. But like all good Krakoa nature books, this comes with graphs and charts and all the information you need to know to really get on board. There's a big explanation of what's going on at the beginning as well. So overall, I'm enjoying this. I've really been a big fan of the Krakoa Age. I'm a little sad that it's ending, but I'm also very interested in the stuff that's been announced for the future. So hello, everyone. Dan here from the Next Issue Podcast. On today's video, I'll be doing a review for Ultimate Spider-Man #3. This is a new book for Marvel Comics. Let's take a look at the creative team before we get into this book. This book is written by Jonathan Hickman with art by Marco Cicchetto, colors by Matthew Wilson, letters by Corey Petit. We'll also have a multitude of variant covers at the end of the video. Stay tuned for that. In this issue, Peter Parker's new life gets even more complicated. Spider-Man sizes up to the new hero Green Goblin as they team up to fight a new villain. Secrets about corporations running America are revealed, and you'll never guess who discovers Spider-Man's secret identity. Yeah, a lot happened on this one. It was definitely a very good issue. I really enjoyed it. I think I've talked about how this is probably one of my favorite ongoings. As a matter of fact, we were talking at the shop when I went to pick up my books this week. And yeah, this is by far my favorite Spider-Man book that I'm reading. But also, it may be the best superhero comic that I'm reading as well. I would say there's some other good stuff like World's Finest is really good. Avengers Twilight is also very good. But man, this Spider-Man book, there's just something about the character of Spider-Man that when it's done well, it really stands out. So we continue to follow along Peter and his journey as he is now this Ultimate Spider-Man. Right, he's still learning the ropes. His daughter knows, and they have a really nice sequence. You know, they were trying to figure out a new costume for Peter. We get to see a little bit of that, but then we get into the super heroics, and then of course we continue to follow along with the relationship between Uncle Ben and J. Jonah Jameson, now that they've struck out on their own to make their own newspaper. So this is really, really good stuff. Let's take a look at some of the preview art by Marco Cicchetto. And as I've mentioned, there's just something about this. Marco Cicchetto really captures the characters. I love the family dynamics. You know, they're kind of split right now because obviously only Richard doesn't know his dad's secret identity, right? Um, so whereas May does. So really fun to see that. And I love the references to some of the other Spidey outfits that we've seen here. You know, a little bit of Easter eggs, but also these in this universe, all these suits are new. So really fun to see that around. And then once again, Marco Cicchetto doing some of what he does best, and that is just have Spider-Man swinging. We also get to catch up with this new Green Goblin, and we get to see a new version of I guess the ultimate version of Bullseye, which looks really good. We don't know much about Bullseye yet, other than he's deadly with those playing cards. As you can see, he's just kind of throwing them around. Gambit, eat your heart out. So yeah, this issue was fantastic. This Ultimate Spider-Man book is so much fun. It really hits on the family dynamic that I'm really enjoying. We also have this older Peter who, because he did not become Spider-Man when he was young, his life is completely different. I also continue to love just that the little story of Uncle Peter or Uncle Ben, and like this is a really nice what if Uncle Ben hadn't died, like what would he be doing? And he'd be running a newspaper with J. Jonah Jameson. That is pretty insane. Really fun stuff. Once again, we should get to see a little bit more of Mary Jane. I think there's a lot. I think we're gonna get. I feel like Hickman's been planting a few seeds of her role's about to be very important. Maybe I feel like she's gonna end up maybe working with somebody that may be adversarial to Peter. And of course, as I mentioned in the synopsis, somebody learns their secret identity. So you'll have to read the book to find out who it is. So if you have read this book, let me know what you thought about it down in the comments. We have reviews for issues 1 and 2 as well on the channel. Make sure to go chase those down. And as always, thank you for watching, everyone. Remember to share, like, subscribe, hit the bell so you know when we go live. That is most Saturdays, 10 a.m. Central Standard Time. Stay tuned. We have more comic reviews, trailer reactions, TV recaps, all that fun stuff in the channel. Thanks for watching, everyone. Bye bye.